You've seen big trucks before. Maybe you've even stood next to a semi and felt small. But you probably never imagined that somewhere out there, far from highways and city streets, there are military trucks so huge they need special roads just to turn around. Machines built to carry tanks, launch missiles, and crush their way through mud, snow, and sand like it's nothing. For years, they worked in the shadows. Frozen missile bases, desert war zones, secret convoys that most people never even heard about. And tonight, you're going to meet them if you're into powerful machines, military tech, or you just missed that old school time when things were built to last. Stay with me, because what you're about to see will change the way you look at trucks forever. We're going to look at 10 of the biggest, toughest military off-road trucks humans ever built. Some carried nuclear missiles, some dragged broken tanks out of battle, and the last one on this list is so strange and massive it honestly looks like it shouldn't exist. Ready? Then buckle up, because we're starting with a truck that could quietly move a nuclear missile across the countryside while the rest of the world had no idea it was even their dot at the height of the Cold War, when the United States and the Soviet Union watched each other with pure suspicion. The USSR rolled out a weapon that didn't make big headlines, but scared a lot of planners on the other side. It wasn't a jet, it wasn't a submarine, it was a truck, a very special one. On paper, it was listed as the 9K71 for Oka. NATO called it the SS-3 Spider. In simple terms, it was a mobile missile system built on a giant 8x8 truck, based on the MZKT for 3 platform. Imagine a huge 8-wheeled vehicle, almost 10 meters long, with a massive tube on its back. Inside that tube, a solid-fuel ballistic missile that could carry a conventional or nuclear warhead over hundreds of kilometers. That missile system used a truck chassis with a V12 diesel engine of about 38.8 liters, pushing out around 525 horsepower and more than 2,200 newton meters of torque. That's tank engine territory, bolted into a truck. It didn't need a road. It could roll through forests, across fields, even over frozen ground, and still get into firing position. The suspension on this beast was built to keep the launcher stable. Independent suspension, 8-wheel drive, low-pressure tires, and a transmission with special low gears. The crew sat inside a sealed cabin, working with targeting and launch systems, while the outside world saw only a green truck, hiding its real purpose under a cover. In less than half an hour, it could move, stop, raise the missile, and be ready to fire. Here's the wild part. When Western analysts figured out that the real range of the Oka missile was longer than what the Soviets had claimed, it helped trigger one of the biggest arms control moves of the era. The system became a key point in debates around the INF Treaty, which banned a whole class of short and medium-range nuclear missiles. Later, when the treaty collapsed, the story of mobile launchers like this one came back into the news again. This simple-looking truck, this mobile launcher, helped shape global nuclear politics without most people ever knowing its name. Today, most Oka systems are gone. Some were destroyed under treaty rules. A few survive in museums or locked away in secure depots. But if you ever see one in person, you're not just looking at a truck. You're looking at a machine that once carried the power to change history in a single launch. Now, let's leave secret missile convoys behind and head to the mountains of Eastern Europe, because the next truck on our list earned its reputation not by carrying nukes, but by refusing to die in places where normal vehicles just give up. Back in the 1960s, in what was then Czechoslovakia, engineers at Tatra were given a simple but brutal challenge: build a truck that can carry heavy loads through deep snow, broken roads, and steep forests, and keep going in winter when engines usually freeze and people give up. Their answer was the Tatra T813, especially in its 8x8 Colos configuration, which literally means Colossus. At first glance, the T813 doesn't look fancy. It's boxy, tall, and honestly a little ugly in the best possible way. But underneath, it's one of the smartest off-road designs ever made. Instead of a normal ladder frame, Tatra used a central backbone tube chassis. That's like a giant steel spine running down the middle of the truck. The axles are attached to this tube, and each wheel gets independent suspension. What does that mean for you? Imagine driving over rocks, logs, and bombed-out roads, and the truck just kind of walks over everything, keeping the cabin surprisingly stable under the hood, or more accurately under the cab. You get a 17.6-liter V12 air-cooled diesel engine making around 150 to 270 horsepower and close to 1,000 newton meters of torque. Not crazy numbers compared to modern engines, but the way it delivers that power is what matters. It's made to work all day at low speed, in deep mud or snow, without overheating or freezing. No coolant to leak, no radiator to puncture, just an air-cooled block that keeps thumping in temperatures way below zero. Soldiers use the TA-13 to haul artillery, bridge parts, fuel, even light tanks. It could pull big loads while climbing steep forest tracks where paved roads simply didn't exist. And here's a fun detail. Many of these trucks are still alive today, working in mines, forests, and quarries in Slovakia, Czechia, and Ukraine. Civilian owners love them because, as they say, if you take care of a Tatra, it will probably still be running long after everything around it has rusted away. We started with a secret Soviet missile carrier and a Czechoslovak mountain beast. But what happens when modern NATO armies need a heavy truck that can cross deserts, climb hills, and still plug into today's high-tech battlefield? That's where the next monster rolls in. In the early 2000s, Germany and its NATO partners needed a new generation of military trucks. The old ones were tough, but missions were changing. Troops were deploying to Afghanistan, the Balkans, Africa. Roads were bad or simply not there. Convoys faced IEDs, rough terrain, and long days under heavy loads. The answer came in the form of a family of trucks called the HX series. And one of the most important models is the MAN HX7 8x8. Picture a huge, purposeful truck with 8 big wheels, a high cab, and a flatbed that can carry around 15 tons of cargo, containers, fuel, ammunition, even small armored vehicles. Underneath, it's powered by a MAN D-06 10.5-liter inline-6 diesel engine that produces about 440 horsepower and around 1,100 newton-meters of torque. Power goes through a 12-speed automatic transmission and a 2-speed transfer case, giving the driver a lot of control over how the truck moves off-road. The HX77 is full-time all-wheel drive. It can climb steep slopes, ford deep water, and cross soft sand without getting stuck too easily. The suspension uses heavy-duty springs and shock absorbers to keep things under control, even when the truck is fully loaded and bouncing along a dirt track. The cab can be armored with mine protection and bullet-resistant glass, because these trucks often drive into places where small arms fire, and roadside bombs are a real threat. Inside, it's not a luxury car, but compared to older trucks, the HX77 is very friendly to the crew. Better seats, climate control, and more ergonomic controls mean drivers can stay focused on the mission. You'll see HX77s in British, German, and other NATO armies hauling supplies in long convoys, recovering vehicles, or supporting artillery units. Some even form the base for special systems like bridging equipment or radar sets. There are also civilian and firefighting variants based on the same platform, because when you design something this reliable, other people want it too. But if the MAN HX77 is the clean, modern European answer to heavy logistics, the next truck on our list is pure American muscle from the late Cold War. Think of it as a big rig that went to boot camp and came back with a mission. Drag main battle tanks across continents stopped by the 1970s. The U.S. Army needed a heavy equipment transporter that could move big tanks like the M60 Patton, and later support early M1 Abrams tanks. The result was the Oshkosh M911, a massive 6x6 tractor unit produced in the late 1970s and early 1980s. It was usually paired with the M747 semi-trailer, forming a combo that could haul around 60 to nearly 70 tons of cargo on roads. The heart of the M911 is a Detroit Diesel 8V9 to TA engine. That's a turbocharged 12-liter V8 diesel, originally rated at around 435 to 445 horsepower. It's loud, it smokes, and it has that deep two-stroke Detroit sound you can hear from far away. Torque sits in the 1,800 to 1,900 Newton-meter range, enough to get a fully loaded transporter moving, even on hills, as long as the driver knows what they're doing. Unlike many European 8x8 off-road monsters, the M911 uses a 6x4 layout, with power going to the 2 rear axles for highway hauling. It's not a rock crawler, but it wasn't meant to be. Its job was to move heavy armor along roads and reasonably firm ground, especially in places like Europe and the Middle East. On good roads, it could cruise at respectable speeds. In convoys, soldiers remember the constant rumble of these trucks pulling long trains of armored steel. Visually, the M911 looks like a classic American truck dialed up to 11. Long hood, exposed exhaust, dual rear wheels, and a rugged frame built for abuse. Over time, The U.S. Army replaced it with newer transporters, but many M911s didn't retire quietly. Some were sold to other countries, others were converted to civilian heavy haulers, used by specialized transport companies to move oversized loads like construction equipment or generators. Collectors also love them. If you see one today at a truck show, it's usually spotless, polished, and still very much alive. Now, we've talked about modern NATO logistics and Cold War tank transporters. Let's rewind even further, back to the darkest days of World War II, when tanks were getting bigger, battle lines were moving, and broken armor was piling up. The United States needed a way to go into the chaos, pick up wrecked tanks, and drag them home. What they built was so tough and so iconic that even their enemies started using it. Enter the M25 Dragon Wagon. The name alone sounds like something from a movie, and honestly, the truck lives up to it. Introduced around 1943, the Dragon Wagon was a combination of a tractor unit and a special load trailer, designed specifically for recovering and transporting medium tanks like the M for Sherman. It could handle loads of around 40 tons at a time when roads in Europe were often dirt, rubble, or just fields turned into tracks by war. The tractor was built by Pacific Car and Foundry, a company that later became Packard. Under the armored cab of the M25 sat a Hull-Scott 440 engine, a giant gasoline V12 with around 18 liters of displacement, producing roughly 240 horsepower and over 1,200 newton meters of torque. Those numbers might not sound huge today, but back then, with the gearing and driveline setup, it was enough to pull tanks out of ditches and tow them over long distances. The M25 had a 6x6 drive layout with heavy leaf springs and big tires built to take punishment. The cab itself was armored, which was rare for a recovery vehicle. Crews driving Dragon wagons often had to work near the front lines, under artillery fire or air attacks, hooking up disabled tanks and rushing them back for repair. The armor helped protect them from shrapnel and small arms fire while they did their job. There's a famous story from the war where German forces captured one of these vehicles, more or less intact. They were so impressed with its power and practicality that they put it straight into service, on their own side, using an American heavy hauler to move German tanks. That tells you everything you need to know about the respect this truck earned on the battlefield. Today, only a handful of Dragon wagons survive, mostly in museums or in the hands of passionate restorers. When you see one rolling at a historical event, dragging an old Sherman behind it, you're watching a living piece of logistics history. This was the truck that turned impossible recoveries into just another day at work. We've seen trucks born from total war, from Cold War nuclear strategy, and from modern coalition missions. But the next machine on our journey is where pure Soviet brute force really starts to show itself. Huge V12 diesel, 8-wheel drive, and enough pulling power to move missiles, tanks, and even aircraft. Get ready for the MAZ 537. If there's one truck that screams Soviet heavy industry, it's the MAZ 537. This thing looks less like a truck and more like a grounded spaceship with wheels. Developed in the late 1950s and entering service in the early 1960s, the MAZ 537 was built to do one thing: move very heavy stuff over almost any terrain the Soviet Union could throw at it. Tanks, missile launchers, huge trailers, even aircraft on airfields, the MAZ 537 towed them all. The core of the MAZ 537 is its engine, AD1 to A5 to 5AV1 to diesel with a displacement of about 38.8 liters, adapted from a tank engine. It produces around 525 horsepower and over 1,200 newton meters of torque. That power goes into a hydromechanical transmission and then out to all 8 wheels. The layout is mid-engine, meaning the massive power plant sits behind the cab but ahead of the rear axles, which helps spread the weight and keep the truck stable when it's pulling 50-ton trailers. The MAZ 537's independent suspension, huge tires, and central tire inflation system allow it to move over mud, snow, and broken ground that would stop ordinary trucks cold. Officially, it can tow loads of 50 tons, but some versions were pushed to 65 tons and beyond. During the Cold War, you could find MAZ 537s hauling intercontinental ballistic missiles, heavy tanks, and even components for the Soviet space program. There's even a famous case where one was used to tow a Tu-22M bomber, a large strategic aircraft, across an air base in Kazakhstan. Imagine looking out on the tarmac and seeing a truck dragging a bomber like it's a boat on a trailer. The cab is simple and functional. Room for 4, basic gauges, and extra heating systems because these trucks often worked in brutal cold. Many are still in use today in Russia and other former Soviet states, either in military roles or in heavy industry. If you see one climbing out of a muddy riverbank with a loaded trailer behind it, you understand why this design stayed in production for decades. But the Soviets didn't stop there. If the MAZ 537 was the muscle, its successor family, the MAZ 543 and MAZ 7310, became the flexible backbone for multiple weapon systems and heavy roles. Designed in the 1960s, the MAZ 543 and later the MAZ 7310 share the same basic 8x8 layout and even the same type of 38.9-liter D1-A diesel engine, again with around 525 horsepower. The first public appearance of this platform was in 1965, rolling across Red Square as the launcher for the famous Scud-B missile system. Later variants carried surface-to-air missiles like the S-300, heavy rocket artillery, radar systems, fuel tanks, and even oil field equipment. The MAZ 7310 took the concept further. With a longer frame and higher payload capacity, it could work with special trailers to form long road trains for oil and gas operations in Siberia, where normal trucks simply couldn't survive the mix of deep snow, swampy ground, and extreme cold. Some versions of the 7310 were used on military airfields as huge fire trucks or two-tow aircraft. Others became the base for mobile command posts and communication centers. What makes these trucks special is how modular they are. The same base chassis could be fitted with a missile launcher, a crane, a fuel tank, or a radar. From a distance, you see the same giant 8x8 silhouette, engine behind the cab, big low-pressure tires, and that long, flat frame. Up close, the job it's doing might be completely different. For decades, this platform was everywhere in Soviet and later Russian heavy logistics and strategic forces. Now, if the MAZ-537 and MAZ 7310 gave the Soviet Union the power to move heavy loads at home, the next truck on our list shows what happened when they decided to push that idea even further. In the late Cold War and post-Soviet era, it's bigger, more powerful, and built to operate from Siberian winters to scorching deserts. Meet the MZKT 7x28. Rusik. The MZKT 7x28 was developed by the Kurganwil tractor plant as the successor to the MAZ 537. It entered service around 1990, just as the Soviet Union was breaking apart. Its mission was simple: haul extremely heavy trailers, including tank transporters, over long distances, both on road and off-road. Think 70-ton loads as a normal day at the office. Under its skin, the Rusik uses a YAMS 8400 1.10 to 14 V1 to turbocharged diesel engine, producing about 650 horsepower. That's a serious jump from the 525 horsepower of the MAZ 537. The engine sits behind the cab, feeding power into an 8x8 driveline with locking differentials and heavy-duty axles. The truck can tow semi-trailers carrying main battle tanks like the T-70 and T-80 across rough ground. Officially, it can handle 70 tons, and its range with full fuel tanks can reach up to 1,500 kilometers in some configurations. The cab is more modern too. It has 6 seats, and the rear ones can fold down into bunks so that crew members can rest during long hauls. Some versions have light armor, big external fuel tanks, tall fenders, and huge tires give it a very tall stance. From the front, it almost looks like a building with a grill. The vehicle is designed to work in temperatures from -50 to +50 degrees Celsius, covering everything from Arctic winter to desert summer. You'll find the Rusik not only in Russia, but also in countries that bought heavy equipment from Moscow. Like some states in the Middle East, some variants are used as ballast tractors to tow aircraft or oversized equipment for oil and gas operations. It's a specialist tool. You don't drive a MZKT 7 for the 8 to go shopping. You use it when you have something so heavy and so important that failure is not an option. We're getting into truly extreme territory now. The next truck doesn't just haul one tank. In some configurations, it can carry 2. It was built for a rich desert country that wanted the biggest, baddest tank transporter it could get, and the result became one of the most powerful 8x8 trucks in the world. Part 4. In the late 1990s, the United Arab Emirates was shopping for a new tank transporter. The Army wanted something that could move its heavy AMX-5 6-Leclerc main battle tanks and infantry fighting vehicles across long distances, including desert terrain and highways, with reliability and speed. Belarusian company MZKT, also known by the brand name Volet, answered the call with a monster, the MZKT 74135. The MZKT 74135 is an 8x8 tractor unit designed to work with special semi-trailers like the MZKT 99942 and 83721. Together, they form a road train that can haul up to around 70 tons of armored vehicles. In some setups, it can carry one main battle tank into infantry fighting vehicles at the same time. That's an entire armored platoon rolling behind one truck. Under the cab sits a Caterpillar C18 turbocharged diesel engine, producing around 800 horsepower and over 3,000 newton meters of torque. Depending on the exact version, power goes through an automatic transmission to all 8 wheels. The truck has the steering axles up front and heavy-duty suspension to handle both the weight and the bumps at speed. Despite its size, the 74,135 can turn in a radius of about 16 meters, which is impressive for such a large vehicle. The cab is much more modern than older Soviet-era trucks. It has climate control for hot desert climates, better seats, and the option for extra protection. There's enough room for the driver, co-driver, and extra crew. On long trips, that matters. When fully fueled and loaded, the tanker-trailer combo can travel hundreds of kilometers across open desert without refueling, bringing heavy armor to wherever it's needed. The UAE tested multiple designs from different countries, and this Belarusian design won out. That alone tells you how capable it is from the outside. The MZKT 74135 looks like a rolling wall of steel. High cab, massive tires, wide stance. It's not flashy, but it radiates confidence. Whatever you put behind me, I'll pull it. And in the world of heavy armor logistics, that's the only thing that really matters. So, after all these giants, you might be thinking, surely this is as big as it gets. But it's not. The last truck on our list is so huge and so specialized that it moves some of the most secretive weapons on the planet. It barely shows up in public, almost never appears in normal military parades, and its exact numbers and details are still debated. Yet, if you care about modern heavy vehicles, you have to talk about it. Meet the KAMAZ 7850 family, also known as Platform O. This is not just one truck, it's a whole family of super heavy 8x8, 12x12, and 16x16 wheel chassis developed by Russian company KAMAZ for the Ministry of Defense. The goal was simple but ambitious: replace many of the older Belarusian MZKT heavy launchers with a new, fully Russian-made platform for intercontinental ballistic missiles and other strategic systems. The flagship of the family, the KAMAZ 7850 16x16, is basically a moving building. 16-driven wheels, massive ground clearance, and a payload capacity of around 85 tons. Its job is to carry some of the heaviest missile launchers in the Russian arsenal. Other variants like the 12x12 and 8x8 versions carry slightly lighter systems or serve as support vehicles, but they share the same basic philosophy: huge electric or hybrid drive trains, high-torque diesel generators, and advanced suspension systems designed to spread weight across many axles, so the vehicles can still move on normal roads. Exact engine details are still a bit unclear in open sources, but reports mention power levels in the 700 to 800 horsepower range for the diesel generator units, combined with powerful electric wheel motors. That setup gives very high torque at low speeds, perfect for crawling off-road with a full missile on the back. The chassis are designed to operate in extreme temperatures across Russia's huge territory, from humid forests to frozen tundra. What really makes Platform O special, though, is its role. These trucks aren't just carrying tanks or fuel. They are built to carry strategic weapons that form part of a country's nuclear deterrent. That means they need to be mobile, able to hide in forests, move on secondary roads, and change position often so they can't be easily targeted. The multi-axle layout spreads the weight and reduces ground pressure, allowing the vehicles to leave ladder tracks and cross weaker bridges than you'd expect for something this heavy. It's like taking the idea of an off-road camper and turning it into a launcher for one of the most powerful weapons on Earth. Because of security, you won't see KAMAZ 7850 vehicles in daily news very often. They appear now and then in satellite photos, military expos, or carefully staged videos. For most people, they might as well not exist, but for military watchers and heavy truck fans, they're almost mythical. Every new photo gets analyzed. Every change in layout sparks debates about what system it might be carrying next. Look at the family of trucks we've just gone through. From World War to tank rescuers to Cold War missile carriers. From Eastern European mountain haulers to desert tank transporters. They all have one thing in common. They were built to do jobs that normal machines simply cannot handle. When you see one of these giants moving slowly across a frozen field or a desert highway, you're looking at decades of engineering, politics, and battlefield lessons rolled into steel, rubber, and diesel. These aren't just trucks. They are silent enablers of strategy. They don't fire the shots, but they carry the things that do. Without them, tanks wouldn't arrive, missiles wouldn't move, and a lot of wars would look very different. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these beasts surprised you the most? Would you pick the old school M25 Dragon Wagon with its armored cab? The Soviet MZKT dragging missiles and bombers around? Or the ultra-modern KAMAZ 7850 with enough wheels to look like a land train? Tell me in the comments which one you love to see in action, or even drive for a day. If you enjoy diving into the world of extreme machines, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We've got more stories coming about the biggest, strangest vehicles ever built, from Arctic haulers to amphibious monsters. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Narrative perspective used. The script is written in second person, with a conversational narrator speaking directly to the viewer using you, guiding them through each truck like a story. Storytelling devices used. The script uses strong hooks at the start of each section. Curiosity gaps. The next one is even bigger. Simple comparisons like a moving building, like a grounded spaceship. Light foreshadowing before each new truck. Fun facts and legends. And many cliffhangers at transitions to keep viewers watching.